All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to walk through this really powerful story of faith drawn from the writings of Claudia Reid. And it's a journey that gets into something I think we can all relate to at some point. That feeling of crying out for help and just hearing silence. And these words from the author, wow, they just hit you, right? They really set the scene for the entire story. This isn't just about a moment of doubt. No, this is the beginning of a long, really painful struggle, a battle with prayer, and that awful feeling of being totally, completely alone.
So, you have to wonder, what was she asking for? Was it something huge, like fame or riches? Not at all. It was a plea for something very real, very tangible, something she felt she absolutely needed just to survive. $500. That's it. And that specific number, it just makes this whole spiritual crisis so real, you know? This wasn't some abstract wish. It was a concrete, desperate cry for just a little bit of breathing room, just enough to keep her head above water.
And man, did she have to wait. That silence, it wasn't just a quiet waiting game. It actually got louder and louder in her head, making her feel totally invisible, totally unheard. It took a tough spot and turned it into this full-blown crisis of faith that just went on and on. Okay, so this is where things get really tough. This brings us to the core conflict of her story. It's that painful thing you see sometimes, right? She's looking around, and it feels like the people who cut corners, who bend the rules, they're the ones getting rewarded. All while she's trying to do the right thing and just struggling.
And you can really see the two paths laid out here. On one side, you've got her path, sticking to her integrity, being patient, holding on to her faith. But then she looks over at this other path, and it looks like it's paved with instant rewards for taking shortcuts. Trying to live with that contradiction, day in and day out, that would test anyone's beliefs to their absolute limit. So how do you even deal with that, with seeing what feels like total injustice? Well, for her, she found an anchor. She turned to Scripture, and this particular verse from Psalm 37, it became her lifeline, a constant reminder to just trust the process, trust the path of doing good, even when it felt like the hardest road imaginable.
Now, this whole struggle, it's building up to something. We're getting to the real heart of the story now. This is where we see those moments of just raw frustration, the deep, honest-to-goodness doubt, and that terrible sinking feeling of being completely and utterly abandoned.
And you can see how the emotional toll just got heavier and heavier over time. I mean, in year 1, she's pleading for a sign. By year 3, that pleading is turned into real frustration. And after 5 years, 5 whole years, it's just pure, raw desperation. That weight wasn't static. It was like a weight that just kept getting heavier on her spirit. And this is the question she finally screams out at the peak of it all. This isn't some polite, carefully worded prayer. Nope, this is raw. It's unfiltered. It's one of the most human questions you can ask, right? Fired straight at God, coming from years of just being worn down and feeling like nobody is listening.
But even then, in that absolute pit of despair, she had this lifeline, this verse from Psalm 34. It's like that last little flicker of faith she's hanging on to for dear life. And it creates this incredible internal battle, right? Between this crushing doubt and this stubborn, defiant belief that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't really alone.
And then something started to change. A turning point. But here's the thing. It wasn't the $500 suddenly showing up. It was something deeper. It was a massive shift in her whole perspective, a change in what she was even looking for in the first place.
She started to completely redefine what a miracle even meant to her. It stopped being about some big, flashy, dramatic event. Instead, it became about noticing the small things, the quiet, subtle signs that she wasn't alone. The source material calls them footprints that she just hadn't seen before. Suddenly, the miracle wasn't the money, it was just finding the strength to get through another day.
And hope started popping up in these little, unexpected places, these glimmers. None of them were world-changing things by themselves, but when you add them all up, a kind word from a stranger, a song that hits just right, a random phone call, they became proof. Proof that she hadn't been forgotten. Maybe she was just being guided in a much quieter way than she ever expected.
So, all of this leads to the big resolution of her story. And the most incredible lesson she learns, it has nothing to do with finally getting what she asked for. The real lesson was found in the journey itself, in all that difficult, painful waiting.
She has this amazing realization. The struggle wasn't pointless. It actually had a purpose. All those years of waiting, of refusing to compromise her integrity, it was shaping her. It was forging her character and deepening her faith in a way that getting an instant answer never ever could have had. The process, that became the entire point.
And what's so interesting is that her personal conclusion is mirrored perfectly in the book of James. This verse really nails it. It talks about the true value of perseverance. That the real prize isn't just getting through the tough time, but this crown of life that you earn by facing the test and not letting your faith crumble.
When you look at it, her internal transformation is just massive. Think about it. She went from pleading for one specific thing to trusting in a bigger plan. She went from demanding a loud, obvious miracle to noticing all the quiet ones that were there all along. And that whole journey, it took her from the depths of despair all the way to a place of genuine, profound peace.
So we'll leave you with this final, powerful question that comes out of her whole journey. It's a thought that kind of flips the whole idea of struggle and waiting on its head. It makes you wonder, and it invites all of us to think about the quiet changes happening inside of us when we're going through our own tough times.